Hey friends, welcome back to another From the Text to the Table, where we literally talk about what we read, and we talk about it with effort, and we talk about it with fun, and we talk about it with spirituality. Today, I'm so excited to be talking with a young man who I've come to know, who's hilarious and a tremendous musician, a tremendous entrepreneur, if you would, and a social media giant in his own right, and the person of Olakunle Awe. How you doing, man?
First of all, it's an honor and a pleasure to be here. I've never had somebody introduce me like that. I felt like the guest pastor. I wanted to sit back like this. Oh man, but no, it's a pleasure to be here. I feel good, to just sitting here with you is an honor in my own right. So, I'm ready. I'm very, very excited. I got my own. I was excited for this. I told them. I'm sorry. I told them I was excited for it. So yeah,
that's
it's
good.
A pleasure to be here.
We're glad to have you, man. Today, we're going to kind of talk a little bit about something people don't always say out loud, but they feel it. It's the idea of what happens when people believe in a version of you that you're still becoming. When doors start opening up, opportunities come in, people start paying attention to you, you're growing, you're maturing. People are now starting to click. They want to be connected to you. And in that season of gratefulness and just kind of seeing how those things happen, now you're trying to grow, while people are ultimately watching, and that tension that exists between who you were, who you're becoming, and the growth in between that, and how you build that, and how do you not make that performance, but really who you really are. And so today, I think it's important to kind of have that conversation, not only for our generation, but for your generation and those that are coming behind you, just kind of really talking about this idea of becoming. And so when you look at Scripture, we ultimately see this pattern over and over again, people being seen one way while still becoming a version in real time. We see in the Scripture with David, who starts out as a shepherd boy. We see it with Joseph, who starts out in his father's house, gets a coat of many colors. His brothers start hating on him, put him in a pit, and we see he moves into Potiphar's house, and then all of a sudden he gets played by Potiphar's wife, and then all of a sudden he's in prison, and then he moves from all of those situations and ends up again in the palace, right? And without Joseph, Egypt dies in famine. And so he had to go through all of that to get to where he is.
All those phases.
All those seasons. And so I think today it's important to really have that dialogue. So let me ask you my first question today, and that is, was there ever a moment where it hit you like, people see something in me that I'm still trying to grow into?
Honestly, I feel like there's been a lot of times where I felt that way. Even me being a pastor's kid, me being a preacher's kid, growing up in the church my whole life, ever since since before I was born, there was expectations.
Okay.
My mom would even tell me, like, people were talking about what you were going to be before you even here.
Wow.
So it's always there, but I personally feel like the best time, and I know I could be long-winded at times, me being a podcaster, but I'm going to try to keep everything very, very short.
Right.
But I think the one time where I knew, okay, some people see something in me that I might not even know is here yet. I have an idea that it's here, but I don't know it's here, was when I was at Manville. I told you, I transferred to Manville. I transferred to Manville to play basketball.
Okay.
Right, after things weren't going well at my original high school of Hightower. And when I got to Manville, the district, Alvin ISD, they blocked me from playing on varsity because of transfer rules. So I was at Manville for no reason, or I thought I was there for no reason, until God did something really, really crazy. I got switched to an English class, another English teacher, 2 months before I transferred back to Hightower. And on one day, me and this teacher, we weren't even close. One day, she called me to her table. She said, "Hey, I want you to talk to somebody right quick about something." And she told me, she pulled me aside. She was like, he's been depressed, and he's thinking about, committing and, taking himself out. And I just want you to talk to him. And in my mind, I'm like, why me? Like, I get it. People probably thought that I was a charismatic person. They probably thought I had like the personality and, just the words to do it. Yeah. So I'm like, okay, I guess. So I go to the bathroom. He's in the bathroom, Caucasian boy, because Manville is mostly that, And I have a conversation with him. I'm not being emotional with him. I'm making him feel very, very comfortable. And he was crying in tears. Like when I went in there, he didn't want anybody to know. We spoke for maybe about 7 to 10 minutes. And, I was able to appeal to him of why, if you're not here, the world is not. The world is going to be worse without you in it. Like, you have a purpose here. There will be a bunch of people that will be sad if you're not here. And I know that if you don't love yourself, you at least love your family members. Before I went to the bathroom, something told me to ask my teacher, okay, do you know anything about his family? What does his mama do? She told me what his mama does. So I went to the bathroom, and as I was talking to him, I said, your mama, everybody at her job is going to be sad for her for the next 2 years. They're gonna pity her if you take yourself out and things like that. I was able to appeal to him not to do it. He didn't say he wasn't gonna do it, but he ran out crying, and as he ran out, he threw the pills in the trash can. He didn't say anything to me, but he threw the pills in the trash can. I seen the bag of the pills, and I was like, wow. Like, I went back to the teacher, and she told me I wanted you to speak to him because I felt like you're an amazing speaker. I feel like you have a voice that can appeal to anybody. Like, people will listen to you and understand you, and they'll want to hear what you have to say, and it'll hold weight. So I feel like that was the one time in my life. And I realized, remember, I went to Manville to hoop, but I couldn't hoop. Yeah. So I feel like God sent me there to show me, like, okay, you have a voice. You have a voice. Yeah. That was my greatest, in my opinion, that's my greatest accomplishment in life, that I was able to talk somebody out of doing that. So you were able to talk somebody out of committing suicide. Yes, I didn't want to say the word. I think we got to say it. Indeed. Yeah, because you don't know who we're helping, right? Exactly. I think, when you consider this idea of becoming, and we look at the story of Joseph, look at the story of David, and so many others in Scripture, Ruth, other individuals that we can point out, it's always one defining moment that opens your eyes and says, you know what, there's more to me than basketball. There's more to me than how I transferred to a school or the things that I thought was going to happen. So let's kind of ride the wave of that moment and kind of talk a little bit about, now your eyes open to this reality that I have a voice, right? And my voice matters, but not only does my voice matter, but it shifts the atmosphere and it influences people. Indeed. When did you realize that you were an influencer? I realized I was an influencer physically, practically. It was spring of 2023. That was probably the one time in my life where I feel like I went through something that you could call depression. And I was sad for a good 3 days. And I was like, man, people feel like I'm, not to sound self-congratulatory, but people feel like I'm a little entertaining. And I've already had experiences where me speaking has captivated people. It's people are usually not, drawn out. Things are not going from one ear out the other whenever I speak. So, and my dad's a pastor, so my dad used to always say, speaking is in you, So, and it was during that time where I was like, okay, I was making TikToks, and I was like, okay, I should really make a podcast. People always say, you need to do a podcast, but this was before everybody started doing podcasts, So I decided to, start doing it, and instantly the clips on social media started, doing great numbers. So I was like, okay, I'm going to just keep doing it. Right. That was when I realized, okay, I might have a future in this. And lo and behold, 3 years later, even though I'm still not at my greatest point, nowhere near, I've seen the elevation. I've seen, the progress. Wow. So let's talk a little about your dad saying that to you as a pastor's kid, as a PK kid, and saying what's in you. Did you ever feel like you had to catch up to what your dad, people believed about you before you even believed about it yourself? Absolutely not. Okay. The road to success is not a race, it's a marathon. If you start taking what people want you to be, for one, that can make you self-conscious. Right. It could make you lose confidence. It can make you lose motivation. And, especially with college graduates, as soon as you graduate college, the one question that you get asked is, okay, what are you doing next? Absolutely. What are you doing next? When people try to rush these expectations of you, it could do something to you. So you have to really have it in your mind already, okay, I'm running my own race, and also leaning on God, which is something that I'm going to mention a lot because that's the real key to everything. Right. You don't have to rush any type of expectation. You don't have to rush any type of results if you're leaning on God, if you know where you're going. Yeah. So my dad used to always say, where you're going. I never understood what that meant because it sounded so vague. Right. But what that means is if you keep showing up for yourself every single day and you just keep believing that God is in control, people call it the God factor, that everything is gonna work. So whenever people see a version of myself and I'm not there yet, it never does anything negative to me.
Yeah.
It's a marathon.
Right. So with your age and this I'm Generation X, and what do you like, XYZ? All these numbers.
Gen Z.
You're Gen Z, right? Okay.
Gen Z.
So watch this. So I think in a Gen Z culture where identity is a big thing, and really figuring out who you are, and trying to become that. And with all the fallacies and falsehoods and filters, and people changing their image to look like something they're not, what's refreshing to me in this conversation is just hearing the confidence that you have, right? It's obvious that your parents instilled something in you that, even before you became as you're becoming, you had a sense of confidence of who you were. Identity is important, right? And I say that to say that when you have this dialogue with young adults, there's always this presumptuous mentality or confidence of I'm here, when they're really feeling like they're here.
Yes.
And there's a falsehood and fallacy. And for me, who's older, you can see through it immediately, right? Because we've been there.
Yeah,
right?
y'all have the wisdom to look at it.
We've been there, right? And so my generation is considered the bridge builders between the two different cultures. When any book you read, Gen Z's or Generation X is considered to be the bridge builders, right? And I bring that up to say, how do you, in a culture of fallacy and falsehoods, not allow your confidence that you currently have make you become arrogant?
Oh, gosh. Okay, so I think it's a two-part answer, but I'll say the first one. I'm very big on the village, right? Having real people in your circle. And I have one person in my life. I have a few people in my life, but this is just a great example of people keeping you grounded so that you don't ever think that you're that guy too fast, right? Okay. There was a video that I did on social media that went viral. It was an NBA video, or it was a music video or an NBA video. Either way, it went viral. So one of my friends, as soon as I posted it, like 5 hours later, it was starting to pick up traction. He texted me. He said, "Hey, the music was way too loud in your video, and you stuttered a few times." And I'm just like, okay, bet. Like we gonna work on that, right? Video was going viral. So I asked him like a month later. I was like, "Why did you tell me that instead of like telling me something positive?" He was like, "Because I seen how much the video was blowing up. People were sending it to me, praising you. And the last thing I need you to do is start feeling yourself. Because if you start getting big-headed, that might affect your drive. You might start getting too comfortable. You might be stagnant. Those people help you stay grounded. They help you not become arrogant. They help you not become cocky. And I also feel like the second part, the Bible speaks against being arrogant. You know what happens whenever you speak and you feel like you're too highly of yourself, God will take it from you. Yes. So that's why I always say words like not to sound self-congratulatory, not to sound arrogant. I always preference all my words because I don't even want to come off as that. Right. I don't think I am, but I never want anybody to ever think that. Whenever people tell me, "Oh, you're this, you're that," I always say, "I haven't done anything yet." Yeah. So love the wisdom beyond the years. You're like an old young man, right? And so my I have kids, and you probably in my children's age. I mean, my daughter's 32, my son's 28, my other son is 21, will be 22 in a couple of days, and I have a 19-year-old. And I often tell them all the time that if all you get is congratulatory responses, you'll never work on anything. Never. And you always feel like in a culture where everybody always wants to hear the good, it's really hard for them to hear when they missed the mark or they made a mistake. And when they hear it, they immediately get defensive. It sounds like to me you've grounded yourself in this becoming stage by allowing yourself to have filters who are able to speak into you, as you stated, and share with you, areas where you may have potentially missed the mark, but you also have the wisdom enough not to see it as them degrading you, but really seeing it as these individuals trying to sharpen you. They care.
Says, right. Yeah. And I think caring is important in this generation where, sometimes people don't want to hear, "Hey, you should have did it this way." It's, all I want to hear is you did a great job, right?
Yep.
And I think when we think about the life of Joseph and this idea of becoming, I wanted to segue back into scripture because I want nobody to say we didn't use scripture, right?
Of course.
When we think about Joseph, and he has this dream early, right? And he doesn't have the capacity for it yet, but he has the dream. What are some of the things, or one thing that you're dreaming really big about, but you recognize you don't have the capacity for it yet?
Like one thing specifically that I want to do in the future?
Yeah.
Wow. So, man. So, not to use like the word like delusional, but I feel like in a way you kind of got to be delusional about what you want to be in life. Now, nothing is delusional because God can do anything. We already know that again. But the type of person I want to be the type of influencer whose voice is very, very essential to my generation, who can also be looked at as a role model. Like, okay, Kunle is doing this, he's traveling, he's doing that, but he's also at church, not late, playing on Sundays. You feel me? He's doing that. He's talented in every other aspect, like down-to-earth God, but still keeps God first.
Yeah.
So it's like when you ask me what I want to do, I'm striving to become that. And I always say, again, when you talk about being delusional, I would hate to bring up something like worldly, but there's this quote by Michael Jackson. In the words of you, it messed me up.
Okay,
I love when you say that on Sundays, by the way. It really messed me up. He said, if I don't get on this idea, if I don't do it, that the idea is going to go to Prince. Really, and think of like that's his competition, that's his rivalry. So with me, if I don't put what I need to do in action, if I'm not biased to action, I'm very biased to action. I believe that sitting on ideas is how you destroy your destiny. You have to get it done. So in my opinion, me being what I want to be in the future, literally there's no type of it might sound dumb to any other person. Right. It might not make sense.
Right.
But literally that's the confidence that I just have that I will get it done. And I'm a big proponent of like faith without works is dead. And I'm a big worker. Yeah. Like I don't like lazy people. I don't like to hang around lazy people. Iron sharpens iron.
Yeah.
I like to be around people who want to work, who have it in them.
Yeah.
So the version of me that I want to do, I'm trying to become that person. I'm trying to become the essential voice. I'm trying to become somebody that people can look up to. Me, when I graduated college, there were incoming freshmen who told me like, yo, I chose a HBCU because of you, because I used to do HBCU content as well. Okay. That was how this journey kind of started for me. So to hear people say that they chose where they're going to possibly find their career, going to college, choosing a degree plan, that's what you want to do for the rest of your life. That's what could set you up. So the fact that I was able to influence somebody to go somewhere, it shows, okay, that's part of the plan. I wanted to be the person who could influence somebody to go and get their life better, give them motivation, help them spiritually. That's why I'm in the church still, literally. So that's what I'm striving to be, though. That's what I'm striving to be.
So that level of where you were and where you are in this whole becoming phase, what did that, in your mind, what did where you are now require out of you? What life choices, if you would? What decisions? What principles?
Okay. For one, it required taking prayer seriously. Okay. Of course, as a pastor's kid, you're going to grow up in church. You're going to go whether you like it or not.
Right.
But I feel like it's important for every single Christian, every single spiritual person to have that moment in their life where they need to decide for themselves.
Yeah.
The Bible says, choose ye now this day which God you will serve. So for me, I had to take prayer very, very seriously. Not just because it was told, but because I need to be able to hear whenever God is telling me something. Because the problem in my generation, you might find this very, very silly. My generation struggles knowing what came from God and what didn't. I had a homeboy who crashed his car because he was driving 100 miles per hour in like a school zone. It wasn't 100 miles per hour, but it was like 40 miles per hour in a school zone. Crashed it because the car went crazy. Nobody was hurt, but he went to Instagram and said, God gives his strongest battles to his strongest soldiers. God let this happen to me, but he gonna get me out of this. And I was like, God didn't tell you to do that, man. God did not tell you to crash your car. I got homeboys that's lost money from gambling and putting in picks on prize picks and everything. God didn't tell you to put your money up, bro. God didn't tell you to do
Right.
any of that.
Yeah.
So my thing is, when you pray and when you're in your word,
Yeah.
that's when you can properly hear God, or that's when you can have the most clarity about what God is telling you to do and what He's not.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
feel like, and also but also leaning on Him, also
Okay.
trusting that He will never put you in a position that you can't handle.
Yeah.
I remember one time I was I was called to speak at an engagement that I didn't believe that I could do. I wasn't really too confident about it. So when they asked me if I was still coming, I just ignored it. I was like, I don't think that I could do it. So that next day, the same day of the event, I went to the store to go pick up some snacks after the gym. Shouldn't even been doing that. I go inside the store. Guess who I see coming out as I'm walking in? The person who was literally trying to book me to be on that
Oh, wow.
to speak. And my heart drops to my ankles. I'm like, oh my goodness. He's like, oh man, it's good to see you. I can't wait to see you later today. Make sure you're on time. Blah, 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 blah. And I'm just like, okay. I'm just like, okay.
Yeah.
But I ended up speaking there. It was one of the best speaking engagements I've ever done.
Wow.
And it put me in connection to so many great
Yeah.
people.
Yeah.
I should have just leaned on God.
Yeah.
Literally
Yeah.
just trusting that He will never put me in a position where I will fail. And if I do fail, it's not exactly failure, because we learn through those times where everything doesn't go well.
Yeah.
Experience is the best teacher. So yeah.
So I was going to ask you about a time that you were stretched, but it's obvious that was a time that you
That
were
was one of
stretched.
yeah, it's been a lot of times, but
Yeah.
that was definitely a
Yeah.
time for sure.
So when we look at the life of Saul, who becomes Paul, right? He started performing what people expected instead of staying aligned with what God said. We saw that happen over and over again throughout Scripture, but definitely in the life of Saul, who again later becomes Paul. He started performing, right, and doing certain things. What do you say to the young adult, the seasoned saint, who are in seasons of really trying to identify who they're becoming and not performing to become something that God didn't call them to be, right? What do you say to them in those seasons? Because sometimes, and let me, preference what I just said. Sometimes you hear the fake it till you make it. That I cringe when I hear it, right? What do you say to that non-spiritual thing that we try to spiritualize? What do you say to the person who's faking it till they make it?
Ooh, man. I try to be compassionate. I try to empathize with those people, because you never know what people are going through mentally. It may not be hard. It may be hard for people to have the faith that they will become what they don't see yet. But my only advice to them, again, I'm so big on just working and not giving up. There's always a quote that I always say, like, look, it's not my quote, but if you keep going, you might succeed. If you give up, you definitely will not succeed. You might as well keep going. And as far as the fake it like till you make it part, again, that I just don't understand how atheists do it. I'm sorry. If you're not leaning on God, it's like it's going to be difficult. You have to have the faith. And I get it. It might be hard for people to just sit there and believe in something that sometimes they might not even think is real.
Yeah.
But you have to get in your word. You have to be going to church, in my opinion. You have to try your hardest, get like-minded friends, like-minded people around you who can build you back up. Again, speaking on the village part, it's some people out here that's really going through it that want to yield each and every day.
Right.
You got to have people around you that's going to build you back up, that's going to think about you, even when you don't think they are. Like, let me call my mans. Let me see if he cool.
Yeah.
Like one of my best friends from college, he's a pilot, South Carolina. I call him every here and there. Don't know what he's going through.
Right.
But he'll tell me, man, I was going through it earlier today. I'm glad you called.
Yeah.
I said, yeah, I'm glad. So you got to have people around you, and you just got to lean on God. You just got to take a leap of faith.
How do you stay real when the expectations or the expectations that people have of you seem to be pulling on you? How do you stay real and not become fake? Right.
When you say fake, like, what do you mean by like fake?
When you become something or try to be something that is really not you. You're posturing to fit in, you're perpetuating an idea of who you are and knowing full well that's not really who you are.
Oh man, I fear God. Like, I fear God a lot. Like, a lot. I personally feel like if I'm being something that I am not, God is going to show me. Like we always say God is loving and God is caring. You want to know something that we don't often say about God that I feel like is very true? God is also very hilarious. God is very hilarious. If I try to be something I'm not, there's no way that God is going to give it to me. There's no way he's going to give it to me. And if he does, he's going to show me why I shouldn't have been what I was doing. Yeah. So for me personally, I have to stay true to myself because God will never allow me to be something that I'm not.
Okay.
So then, as far as giving that answer to somebody else, that might not help the next person necessarily because that's me personally, but I could never be a fake version of myself. Okay. Ever, no.
So let me throw out another word, expectations, right? You began, and we began the podcast talking about the expectations of Joseph, the expectations of David, and even your expectations that your parents had on you or placed on you as you're becoming. One of the things that I think is interesting is that when the expectations are high, right? How do you stay real and relevant to who you are and who you're becoming? Because sometimes the expectations are so high, we try to achieve something that we don't have the capacity to achieve yet, and which is why I came up with the fake statement that we become something we're not, and we do this whole idea of faking it till we make it. And then when we don't become that, it damages our credibility, but it also damages us. Yeah. So what do you do? What do you do in those situations?
I think honestly, you have to let what people expect you to be. You can't let it like consume you. If you let it consume you, that's how people go into depression, especially in college. When people see somebody who's the big man on campus or something like that, they try their hardest to move as if they really are that. And I'm not saying that they're not. Right. But if you can't stay grounded and realize, okay, this is a marathon, other people's expectations should not matter. Because at the end of the day, if you fail, the way that people will talk about you, literally, if you're not strong enough to handle that could really consume you. So sometimes you kind of have to think that far in the future. You kind of got to say, okay, if I fail, people, like, no matter what happens, people are going to talk about me. So I might as well move at my own pace. I might as well move at the rate in which I feel like is best for me. Because regardless, people are going to have something to say. Yeah. So you literally have to move at you. It's about your mental, like, stability. I feel like a lot of it is mental. So you're growing now, right? You're becoming, things are opening up for you, opportunities are coming, people are recognizing who you are. Your name is in rooms that you're not in. People are at the table, talking about who you are. Saul has killed his thousands, David has killed his 10,000, and things are shifting, things are moving, and they're moving real fast. Once things started shifting for you, your podcast, people started knowing who you are, did anything about the way you moved have to change? You have to accept the bad that comes with it, I feel. And when I say bad, I just mean like the outside chatter and things like that. When I met somebody who's very big in my space, and he told me, I asked him for advice. I was like, I'm a sponge. I need advice. Just tell me something that you would tell me if you were in my position as you're on the rise. And he said, people are going to talk about you. Like, it can get bad. Like, people are going to talk about you. And literally, you have to learn to be calm at all times. And me, I always say something, God says that vengeance is his.
Right.
And, remember when I mentioned God is loving and caring, but he's also very hilarious. Yeah. So it's like sometimes when somebody can get you so mad and it's like God says that vengeance is his, I'll talk to God and I'll be like, God, I understand you said that vengeance is yours, but I promise you, I will impress you with the type of vengeance I will also do. I know it sounds very odd, but God, I know you got it. But I believe I can also do something very great as well. Right. And of course, you just have to remain calm. You just have to let it happen. And I feel like that's something that many people don't think about when they think about growing and when they think about elevating, when they think about getting into a light. Like, you have to let these people just talk. You gotta let the bag come with it, and you have to be, you have to put on the armor of God for real. The armor of God is not just being spiritual. The armor of God is being able to handle the hate, being able to handle the chatter, being able to handle the outside noise. Yeah. And it's like, sometimes you want to have that vengeance. You really want to tell God, like, I promise you, God, like, I think I can do it. Like, I will take the load off of your back, God, with the vengeance. Yeah. But nah, that's not what God wants. You got to remain mentally confident. You just have to remain calm.
Yeah,
have to remain calm.
So then what I hear you saying is, with what you're becoming and the light now becoming brighter, it was dim. Now it's becoming brighter. You now have to deal with the tensions of success. Mm-hmm. You now got to deal with the attitudes people now have, right? And I think, once you start having that kind of challenge, do you feel like people gave you the space? Because I hear you talk about, and I think I've been there before at one time or another, where I'm like, God, let me handle it. I got this, please. Right? And the old you and the new you, and living in that tension, do you think that people have given you the space to grow in those tensions?
Do I feel like people have given me the space? No, I'm not gonna lie, because people don't think about doing it. They naturally, when people are doing things for you, whether it's positive or negative, it takes a real mature, mentally advanced type of person to sit back and say, I wonder what this did like for that person before they do it, whether it's hate, whether it's do something positive. Mm-hmm. But again, the type of person I'm very solution oriented. Life is what 90% how you move from things that happen to you. The only 10% is what happens. So my thing is, you got to find a way. You have to find a way to still grow, even if people are not giving you that space. Yeah. You have to, whatever methods it is, whether it's things that like distress you or things that give you peace, you got to find a way to grow even when people are not giving you that space. Because there are going to be people that are not going to give you that space. Yeah. Literally. Yeah. And they're not going to consider giving it to you. You got to find a way to do it regardless.
Yeah. I'm going to shoot some rapid fire things at you, because I think this is going to help the audience, whatever age bracket they're in. In seasons of growth and development, do you ever feel like people try to lock you into a version of yourself that you've long outgrown?
Oh, of course. Yeah. Of course. And I feel like even still, no matter where you go in life, there are going to be people that are going to see the old version of you. Mm-hmm. There's people from high school, people from middle school. They'll be having a conversation about me. And I'm not saying this in like a negative way, right. But they'll be like, bro, I know Kunle, bro, trust me. And my thing is, I haven't talked to you in 10 years. I have not talked to you in 10 years, yet you telling people, bro, trust me, bro, I know this guy, trust me, he's this, he's that. Yeah. People are always going to do that, regardless. And I think it's important for like people to know you could become the biggest, the best, the brightest person. There's still going to be somebody that remembers when you were down, and they're going to look at you from that aspect. It's like my mama, no matter how old I am, she's going to look at me as her little boy. Yeah. Literally. So, the people are always going to look at it from that standpoint.
I've been listening to you, and I just kind of see versions of myself in growth process and becoming, and I'm listening to you, and I hear the confidence, and I hear the movement of life and how things are going and the challenges that you faced. And I think about, in the seasons that I'm in, I'm pastoring a church where I also, as a high schooler, hung out and played ball here. And it's so interesting that so many people that I, have joined the church over the last 9 years, some of them have been friends of mine in high school. Mm-hmm. I have about 8 high school friends that are members here. And sometimes they will remind me of who I used to be. I was a jokester. You know, I was a trash talker, and so a lot of those things.
You talk trash during.
Man, I was horrible.
Were you able to back it up?
Oh my gosh, yeah. I mean, I was able to back it up.
So if I ask all those people, they're gonna
say that he was horrible at the way he. And so,
okay.
And
go
sometimes
ahead.
people. I even have a friend who's a member here, and she's an usher, and she says every time I hear you preach, I hear how you used to rank on me on the bus back in high school.
How bad were you?
I was treacherous.
Okay.
And she said it took me a while to for lack of better words, to see you as pastor and not this guy who, you know, which was, by the way, 35 years ago.
Oh, gosh.
So I say that to say that I think as a person, as you're growing and you're becoming, you have to learn how to release yourself from the version that people remember. Because I think sometimes as a young adult, a seasoned saint, a middle-aged person, sometimes we lock ourselves into what people lock us into. And what I hear from you is that you have a sense of understanding who you are. You have not allowed people to box you into one particular person.
That's important.
And I think that's important. So here's the rapid fire.
Go ahead.
You ready?
Oh,
right.
Of course.
You know, recently, I think it's important, you know, to talk about this because I think people need to hear this. We've been talking about growth, pressure, expectations, but sometimes life shapes you in ways you didn't expect. This past year, you walked into a season that was really hard for you, you know, in the passing of your mentor, your dad. And I want to kind of touch on that a little bit because I think people need to hear how you walked through losing your dad and not losing yourself. And I think it's important for people to hear that in a season where even since COVID, we have had to learn how to cope with loss.
Yeah.
How did you navigate that season?
That season, I navigated it through faith. You know, they always say the old saying, God doesn't make mistakes. You know, and whether you believe that or not, me not having my dad anymore, that's final. Yeah. Like whether I believe it was a mistake or not, he's not. The next time I'm gonna see him is when it's my time.
Yeah.
You know, if I live right enough.
Yeah.
So my thing is, the way I was able to navigate, I wanted to be the positive person that he was. If you ask anybody that was around during the time that he passed and after, who was the person making everybody smile, who was the person making everybody laugh, it was me. That was because that was what he was. That was what he would have been in any situation. Yeah. And then, you know, it also taught me a few things. And I mentioned this on my own pod. The one positive thing about losing a family member, I don't care how close you are to that family member, you're going to find out who loves you and who doesn't. Yeah. You're going to find out who the real people in your life are. Yeah. Me and my siblings and my mama, people around me, we all realized who those loving people are for us, like lifelong people. And also, it also teaches you to also be there for people as well. Like, there are some people, when that happened to me, there's a couple people I had to hit up, like, hey, man, like, I know you lost your mom, like, 3 years ago on this day. I'm just checking on you to see how you feeling, because I went through it. Sometimes you got to go through it to understand. Yeah. So, you know, with me navigating it, I was just being that positive person. And then he wanted me to work. He wanted me to, keep working, keep walking, like what Pastor Kenneth said, you know, keep walking and let God decide where you go. Yeah. So for me, I kept working because that's what he wanted me to do. Yeah. So, you know, I was able to not distract myself with work, but I love to grind every single day. Yeah. So he wants me to do it, and I love to grind. Yeah, I'm going to get it done. Yeah. And I think the way that I moved in that season, I think it uplifted people. It probably took a few tears out of people's eyes. It probably made a few people be more confident during that season. So that's what I did.
That's good. That's good. Did it shift you on how you see yourself after you know your dad's passing? Did that shift you in any way on how you see you?
It did. I realized I was much stronger than, you know. Fun fact about my dad never cried. He used to tell us he never cried. The last time he cried was when he was 8, when his dad died. So during the whole time, from the day he passed, even like before to his funeral, I didn't cry at all. Wow. I didn't cry at all. That doesn't mean I had a smile on my face. but I didn't cry at all.
Wow.
And of course, after it happened, this is my first time ever saying this to anybody. And my first time crying was right after the last service. I didn't know it was going to happen. I was driving home, and it kind of settled into me. This is now the reality for the rest of life that he is not here. I cried so hard in my car. My mom is gonna my siblings don't even know this. This is gonna be their first time hearing this.
Oh, wow.
I cried so. I don't think I would ever cry like that for the rest of my life. But the fact that I had a goal to be the positive light, and I was able to do it. You know how hard it is to not cry?
Yeah.
When you see, I tell people, seeing a grown woman and men cry.
Yeah.
It does something to you if you're an empathetic person.
Yeah.
For me to be that person, to hold those emotions off and be positive to everybody, thus bring a new positivity into themselves. People told me the way I saw how joyful you were, the smile on your face, not that you're happy that your dad isn't here, but your attitude this whole time being what he would have been, like it uplifted them. Pastors telling me that.
Yeah.
That did something for me. Like, it showed me that there's nothing that I can't do.
Yeah.
Genuinely. And I already felt that way. So yeah. That's great.
So it only, for lack of better words, it only solidified what you already felt about yourself.
Yes.
Now you actually have to walk through it, because I think it's important that sometimes growth doesn't just come from opportunity. It comes from the things that we have to walk through. And it's apparent that there's a season of growth that you went through, maturity, spiritually, emotionally. Just kind of a little bit, a lot of that process happens while people are watching, right? So let me ask you this, and we'll conclude with these quick little, we didn't have rapid fire. We got close to
My
it.
answer's too long.
It's all right, man. It's all right. People need to hear it. How do you stay honest while you're still becoming?
Me personally, again, I feel like God won't allow me to have anything if I'm not being honest. I cannot fake the funk. I always tell people, you will never see me being performative on social media. You won't ever see me being performative ever, because that's being fake. And I can't do that. Like, that would disappoint everybody around me. So for me, I feel like it's kind of built in me, because my dad was never that. He always stayed on this while he was growing. He always stayed in himself. He always stayed pure. So me personally, I just can't be performative.
That's good. That's good. What would you say to somebody trying to grow now while being seen? They're trying to grow, but they're in the public light. You know, what would you say to them about them in that season?
I would say, spiritually, of course, I'm a broken record with it. Keep leaning on God, because God is not going to fail you. You know, come this far by faith, leaning on the Lord. I didn't learn that song until I got to this church. And it's one of my favorite songs. It's one of my favorite songs ever. But literally, lean on God. 2, the work that you do in private, that's what really matters. You should be, people don't understand how my private time works. Like, I'm grinding every single day. It's what is done in the dark that will come to light. People usually associate that with negative things. Like, if you have a secret, it's going to come out. No. Positively, if you put in all that work, the results won't have a choice but to show up eventually. So you have to keep leaning on God in private. Keep working to whatever you're trying to be at. Whether you're trying to work on your own mental stability, because that might be the battle that somebody's going through, just getting better in themselves, whether it's the gym, whether it's content. I'm a musician, whether it's practicing music, practicing preaching, being in your word, reading every day, praying every day. That work that you're putting in private, keep doing it. Be diligent with it. So that's what I would say,
Finish these 2 sentences for me. I'm becoming, but...
Wow. Okay. Rarely speechless. I get. Okay. Say it one more time.
I'm becoming, but.
I'm becoming, but at my own pace.
Come on, man.
At my own pace.
Come on, man. I told you, a young old man. Yeah.
Come on. 24 going on 50.
Yeah. There it is. Here's the last one. I'm becoming, but I don't feel like nothing's happening.
And I'm filling in the blank after?
Yeah.
Okay, you said I'm becoming, but nothing is happening?
I don't see the fruits of it yet. I'm changing, but I don't see the fruits of my change. Nothing's happening on the outside.
But we move.
But we move.
But we move. I've been saying that for a long time.
Okay.
Shout out my homeboy King. He put me on that.
All right.
We move means no matter what is going on, keep pushing through.
Keep pushing through.
Same fight, different round. I say that anytime somebody asks how are things going. Same fight, different round. We move. No matter what's going on. You lost your dad. We move. You had a failed video you thought was gonna go viral.
Yeah.
We move.
Yeah.
You feel me?
Yeah.
So that's how I am with everything.
So we don't get stalled in neutral. We keep
going.
driving.
We keep going.
Keep going.
You never know when you're gonna win. Tomorrow might be the day you win.
Okay.
And I have that mindset every single day.
Okay.
The next video might be the one. The next praise and worship might be the one where I play everything perfectly. The next prayer might be the one where I get answered. The next person I tell about God, they might be the person who gives their life to Jesus instantly.
Wow.
So with everything, we move.
We move.
We move.
Well, listen, friends, I am so elated, excited to have had my friend and brother, musician, podcaster extraordinaire, the one and only Olakunle Awe. All right? When people believe in a version of you, you're still becoming. I pray that you guys will listen to this podcast and listen to what was said today. I really think it's going to be a blessing to not just, the general body, but to a lot of young adults who needed to hear from a young adult who's moving and doing some great things on how to become and how not to get stagnant and how not to let what God is doing in you become overconfident to a point where you become arrogant and what God is doing in you gets dimmed by who you're becoming in terms of your confidence and your arrogance. And so I really appreciate, what you've said here today, especially the part about the things that your dad invested in you. I think that's going to really help someone to realize that you have everything you need in you. You just got to pull it out of you.
Indeed.
Right?
Indeed.
And so, again, this has been a wonderful time. I appreciate you coming and availing yourself and coming off of your daytime job to come and be a part of what we're doing here today. Friends, again, from the text to the table, Olakunle Awe. When people believe in a version of you, you're still becoming. Brother, thank you so much, man.
Of course. Again, it's a pleasure to be here. Again, I'm going to keep saying it's a pleasure to get this cup. I love this cup so much. And yes, and it was a great talk. And I'm glad, I hope just that anybody that listens to this, that they're able to know more about me and also be blessed by whatever we have said. You never know what it'll do for somebody.
Praise God. From the text to the table, I'm Dr. Andre Lewis. Look forward to seeing you real soon. Have a blessed and wonderful day.